Good Monday evening. Welcome in Monday Live. It is game week. We are going to talk Clemson Duke, game predictions, ACC predictions, college football playoff predictions, whatever else you guys want to talk about. We can go there too, as we do every week, every Monday, right here, 7 p.m. Don't forget, if you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Very much appreciate it. Huge thank you to all you that have helped us grow this channel during the summer months. Can't thank you guys enough. I'll start it off. Picked my 4 playoff teams on our, season preview show last week from Alumni Hall. No particular order. It's hard to pick against Georgia, especially when you look at that schedule. Jesus. Give me Michigan, give me Clemson, and Southern Cal. Those are my 4 teams. I think Clemson wins the ACC and does so and gets into the playoff as a one-loss ACC champ. I am not a big fan of picking teams to go undefeated. It's just so hard to win each and every week, and Clemson does not have the easiest slate this year. So I could absolutely see them dropping a game at some point. Which one? We can make arguments for multiple games, but I don't know which one. I'm not picking any specific one. I could, there's a couple of them I could see them losing. Regardless, I see them, doing enough, getting through the regular season, no more than one loss, making it to Charlotte, winning in Charlotte, whether it's against Florida State, somebody else, and winning ACC with one loss and moving on to the playoff. As for Duke, Clemson, opened up as 13.5-point favorite. It's kind of down to 12. Sounds like some early money might be rolling in on the Blue Devils to cover that number. Again, we've touched on this many times. I don't think that's going to be a cakewalk by any stretch, but I still think Clemson wins by a couple scores. I think it's going to be competitive. Don't get me wrong. Clemson still has more talent. Duke's got the experience. They can probably make it interesting for a little while, but the talent wins out in the end. Clemson tacks on a score too late and pulls away. I think Clemson covers that number. Tell me what you guys think. I see a bunch of playoff predictions here. Ted tells me switch Michigan and Ohio State. We have the same 4 in the playoff. My only thing with Ohio State is if you ain't got one quarterback, you don't have any. And last I heard, they still not named a starter that up there in Columbus. That scares me a little bit. Alabama's quarterback situation scares me a little bit. I hadn't really thought about it much, but my colleague Brad Sinkin, we were talking about teams that might take a small step back this year. Mine was Ohio State. He picked Alabama, and he made some great arguments and kind of opened my eyes to that thing, and I could absolutely see it playing out that way. But don't get me wrong, that Ohio State team's loaded. I don't like the fact they have not settled on a quarterback yet. That kind of gives me a little bit of pause there. Week 0 was boring for the most part, but you know what? That late game, and I'm kicking myself because it was the only game I really got to watch. I spent all day on the road Saturday, all day on the road Sunday, but I was in front of the TV Saturday night, and I started watching Vanderbilt in Hawaii. Vanderbilt had kind of pulled ahead. I think it was 28-14, and they were fixing to line up to try and kick a field goal to make it 31-14, if I'm not mistaken, and I turned it. And I don't know what happened after that. Next day I know, Hawaii's coming back. They pulled within 7. They got the ball late and driving to try to score and ended up throwing an interception. fantastic effort on the part of Hawaii, man, especially consider all the stuff going on there. They flew across the country, but that game has some intrigue late. But yeah, most of those games, I was not disappointed that I was on the road all day. Kind of what I expected with Navy and Notre Dame. That's about what I expected. But that was USC, same thing. That defense, though, they might have to score a lot of points this year, especially early as that defense tries to settle. They gave up a lot of points to that San Jose State the other day. The dude says that jacket is fire. I'm wearing some swag tonight. Wearing some swag. My wife's got it freezing here, so believe it or not, I've got this heavy thing on. I'm not even hot. Yes, Georgia. It's hard to pick against Georgia. You look at that schedule, man, and it's just people crack on Clemson's schedule playing in the ACC, but you look at that Georgia schedule, and there's just not much meat on the bone. And the S&P's got that thing ranked like 50 something. Clemson's is ranked 40 something. I don't know what the hell they looking at, man, but that is to me one of the easiest schedules, of all the playoff caliber teams this year. Not necessarily their fault. You draw who you draw in league play, but man, there's just not much teeth to that schedule at all. Brady says he's got Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, Georgia. I could see it playing out that way. I talked about Bama a minute ago. There's quarterback situation. This kind of same thing with Ohio State for me. It's a little concerning. I know Milrose got that job, but they recruited Ty Simpson there to be ready this year. He's not ready. And that's the guy Clemson targeted in 2022 ahead of Cade Klubnik. Simpson ends up committing to Alabama. Clemson moves on to Klubnik. The rest is history. Here we are. Klubnik's ready to take over in year 2. Simpson's not. You just don't ever have to know how those things are going to work out. John's talking about the same thing I talked about. Southern Cal still look middling on defense in their first game. Not sure I'm willing to put money on their college football playoff chances just yet. It's hard to argue against that when you start talking about that 4 team. For me, it was either pick another team from the SEC or go with Oregon. And Oregon has done burned me a couple of times. I'm not going with them ever again until I see they can make it back. And I'm not. I ain't buying Texas. I think they're going to be good. I just don't think they're going to be that good. It was kind of more of a elimination type deal, and for me, and Southern Cal was kind of the last team standing with that offense. I think they can score enough points to overcome that defense playing in a weak Pac-12. Oh, I got another. Pull over is fire. Andrew says spread actually opened at 11.5. I got it. It just I've seen it. I saw it 12.5 some places last week. It just probably depends on where you look. Somebody texted me today and said the spread was coming down, and what did the bookies know that we didn't know, and I didn't even know it had come down any. I said, well, I asked what it was down to, and he said 12.5, and I was like, well, that ain't really come down much then. That's not a big difference. I believe it or not, I've got the air turned up, man. For some reason, I have the corner of my bedroom I've kind of turned into my little office right here. I'm in my bedroom, and it's the coldest room in this house, and I'm one of those people that get cold real easy for some reason. Wasn't always like that. It gets a little worse the older I get. And where I'm sitting, I sit right on top of a vent, so when the air does come on, it blows right on me. It makes it a little bit worse. I'm here by myself right now, and My wife's gonna raise hell when she gets back because when she sees it, because I jacked it up and she ain't gonna be gone very long. I was hoping it wasn't gonna come on while I was online, but it's already come on. It's hot outside here. Hadn't rained here today. Yes, Sam Hartman did look good, Brady. Um, so did Jaden Greathouse, former teammate of Cade Club. Again, I didn't get to watch that game. I just watched some of the highlights and I kind of saw some tweets about Greathouse. I think he's going to be a weapon for that offense. There were some questions about Notre Dame at receiver, and I think he's going to have an impact on that offense this year. Man, it's hard to find a better trigger man than Sam Hartman. Um, that's one of the biggest moves of the offseason when it comes to the transfer portal. Probably doesn't get talked about as much as some of the other moves. I'm not sure why, because he's almost as there are not many quarterbacks in the country better than Sam Hartman. Let's see what else. Chad says a Georgia friend messaged him today and told him the Clemson's schedule was a joke. Did you tell him to look at their own schedule? Because it's a joke too. I don't usually say that about many SEC schedules, man, but their schedule is nothing. It is not all that, man. It's just, and I'm not one that usually makes a big deal about the schedules because the out of conference games, they're scheduled so far in advance, and you can't control who you play in the league, and you can't control how good they are when you play them. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just something I've never made an effort to turn into big talking points. I mean, it's fine when you're comparing two teams to look at who they beat and all that, but as far as trash talking stuff, it's kind of like that loser's mentality I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, man. When people are beating their chest and chanting SEC, if you got to go down the list and resort to somebody's schedule, you probably don't have a whole lot of room to. You don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to arguing the merits of your own team. That's usually how it works out, in my opinion, anyways. Here's an interesting one. Brady says, do not count out Utah. I think Utah is absolutely a legitimate candidate to make the playoff. And I'm going to tell you another sleeper team over there in the Big Ten, Wisconsin. Got Tanner Mordecai at quarterback, Luke Fickell, head coach, Longo calling the plays over there. I think that the Badgers have the potential to be very good. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff or anything. I'm just saying they are a sleeper who could make some noise. Larry, he's got Clemson, Georgia, Bama, Ohio State. Kelly says, what role has James Davis worked into this season? Contributions brought to the running back room. One of my all-time favorite targets. I can't tell you any specifics. I haven't really heard a whole lot about what he's doing specifically. He's at least playing a part in coaching the running back some there with CJ Spiller. It would almost be criminal to not have him doing so if he's a part of the staff. You know what I'm saying? But as far as what he's doing specifically, yeah, I can't. I haven't really heard anything about that. Chad Morris has gotten all the attention as the analyst, and he's probably the least important one in the room. CJ's got Clemson, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State. Bama will overpower the SEC like the dynasty years. See, I don't know. I don't know, man. I am. I'm not sold on Bama's quarterback situation at all. They had to go and poach one from a group of five school, and because Simpson wasn't ready, we'll see. Notre Dame pass defense didn't impress me much either. Did you even? I don't know. Like I said, I didn't get to watch the game, but did you get to watch Notre Dame's pass defense? I don't think Navy threw the ball but 2 or 3 times. They usually don't throw it more than 5. Zach says Washington is a sleeper. The final year of the Pac-12. All right. I think we got everybody's playoff predictions. Looks like most people's going with Georgia to win it all. If I got to pick a national title winner, I'm going with Georgia, absolutely. 3 years in a row. It's hard to do that, but I think they can do it. What do you guys think about? You got some predictions on the Clemson Duke game. Does Clemson cover? Does Duke cover? Does anybody think Clemson actually goes up there and loses? I've already told you I think Clemson's going to cover the number, whether it's 12, 12 and a half, 13, whatever. I think Clemson's going to win by a couple of scores. Again, I think it'll be competitive for a while, and I just think the talent wins out in the end. Depth charts are out. They just came out a few minutes before I jumped on the air here. I have not really looked at it. But John's asking if I'm surprised that Tyler Brown is the official number 2 behind Antonio Williams on the depth chart. I'm also surprised to see Stellato officially on the roster. No, I am not surprised at all that Tyler Brown is number 2 on the depth chart behind Antonio Williams. Not one bit. He has been raved about all camp. He's kind of taken a similar trajectory as Antonio Williams did last year when he didn't enroll early, came in and nabbed a starting job. I've said it week after week on here. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say it, but I think Tyler Brown's going to help this team this year. I think he's going to be in the rotation. And I think he's going to make an impact on the offense. He's that guy you can kind of use in a similar way you used Artavis Scott back there in the 2015 season when they used him so much on the jet sweeps and those kind of things. There's a lot of different things you can do with Tyler Brown, and he's got elite level speed. So no, it does not surprise me at all that he is the backup. Back to the Notre Dame defense, and Navy did throw 3 passes, and they were burnt all 3 times by a lot. Yeah, I get it. I'll also add this: when you're playing the option team, you're not expecting to pass. You probably got caught peeking in the backfield all 3 times. It's a little different. It's a small sample size against a bad offense or against the wrong offense, probably, to start making harsh judgments on the pass defense there. But we'll see. I think this is I'm not saying he's on the hot seat or anything. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a big year for Marcus Freeman. I think Notre Dame needs to. They've got Hartman at quarterback. They got a little bit of talent on that offense. They got some dudes in that running back room. I think they may need to make it. Freeman needs to show that he is moving the program forward, and they're not taking step backs or backwards. Yeah, I know Georgia's breaking in a new QB. I understand that, but my point is that Ohio State is not even settled in on a QB yet, and I'm kind of the opinion that if you've got 2, you don't have one. If that battle extends into the season, and it sounds like it might, I don't know. That just does not make me very confident about Ohio State's chances of getting back to the playoff. And again, you know, Nick Saban was so unhappy with his quarterback room, he had to go to the he had to go poach quarterback from a group of five school, something he did not want to do. Um, Beck there at Georgia's kind of been, to me, it's a little bit different. They didn't have to go find him somewhere else and bring him in. Um, he's the clear cut starter. He's taking over. Now that Bennett's gone, I don't know. I see those a little bit differently. The dude says we take care of Duke early. We will dominate. They get 2 scores late. Dabo and our dudes will make a statement. I want to see the defense make a statement. That is a very good quarterback Duke has in Riley Leonard. They bring back 18 of 21 starters. That is nothing to sneeze at. But I go back to listening to Riley Leonard back in Charlotte at the ACC kickoff, and he was just impressive. He just oozes confidence, man. I would like to see Clemson's defense come out and make a big time statement in this game. You're the only game on. All eyes are going to be on you. If you want to make an early season statement, this is the time to do it. If you want to announce, hey, yeah, we've lost 3 games last year. We lost 3 games the year before last. We don't have any intention on losing 3 games this year. Start Monday night and make a loud and convincing argument. Now, that is something that I want to see, particularly from the defense. I thought that defense kind of lacked fire last year. I want to see that aggressive mindset we've seen in the past, and I want to see some fire. John says breakout season for Bo Collins. Well, hey, I've said it many times. I think Bo Collins can be as good as he wants to be. He's just got to stay healthy and he's got to want it. He's got all the tools. He's got all the talent. He needs a little bit of luck first and foremost. He needs to stay healthy. He just has some bad luck with those shoulders. And it sounds like he's kind of been committed to doing what he can, in the weight room to ensure or do everything he can to ensure that he stays healthy. He looks a little different this year. I'm not saying he's added a bunch of weight or anything. He just looks different. It's kind of hard to explain. If you see him in person, he looks like a different dude, in my opinion, anyways. We'll see if that translates onto the field. Clemson needs it to. They need Collins. They need Adam Randall and Antonio Williams. They need those guys to be on the field and produce for this offense to have the kind of success they want it to have. Clemson D has to prove themselves this year. The opposing QBs they are going to face are daunting. Hey, Clemson plays some very good quarterbacks this year. That is for sure. There are a lot of good quarterbacks on the schedule this year. And it starts in the season opener with Riley Leonard. You get Jordan Travis coming to town, one of the better quarterbacks in the country. Then you get who is it after that? There are a lot of them. You get Garrett Schrader, who is a pretty good quarterback. Miami after that, we'll see what they have at quarterback. If Tyler Van Dyke has a rebound season, he was not what they thought he was going to be last year. After the year before last, he was fantastic, and he got a lot of love for ACC preseason player of the year last year. Can't remember if I don't think he actually won. I remember I voted for him, so but he got a lot of love and big things were expected, and he did not deliver. Was injured too, but Notre Dame comes to town. After that, Sam Hartman, Drake May in North Carolina, Spencer Rattler in South Carolina. So yeah, there's some dudes on the schedule at quarterback. Make no mistake. The weak link last year on defense was that pass defense, and it's got to be better this year. And I expect it will be. Again, I've said it before. I think Nate Wiggins is going to have himself the type of year that just shoots him up NFL draft boards. I would be shocked if he's back for his senior season. If Sheridan Jones can stay healthy, that only helps the pass defense. Toriano Pride is only going to benefit from getting thrown into the fire last year. Jaden Lucas is healthy, and then all the dudes you got at safety. Makuba, Phillips, Mickens. It's just, and then some of those freshmen, man, Khalil Barnes you're gonna see him on the field. Sherrod Koval, who kind of got thrown into the fire a little bit last year. I think he'll benefit from that too. I mean, Clemson's got some dudes at safety. They got some dudes at corner too, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of talent on the back end of that defense. And I think it's going to be much improved compared to what it was last year. Brady says he thinks Adam Randall will have a breakout season. Y'all know me. I've been tooting that kid's horn for a long time. If you've watched me before, I've said I've watched him plenty when he played at Myrtle Beach. Watched him last year when he came here to play South Florence. Played safety, receiver, quarterback. He was all over the field, man. And he was making plays. He single-handedly kept, he was pretty much responsible for all of Myrtle Beach's offense that night. He just got hurt last year. And it takes a while to come back from ACL, not just physically, mentally too. Got to learn to trust that knee again, and until you get out there and do it. And then after he came back from that, he had another injury. So fully healthy now. I tend to agree. I think there are some inside the Clemson fan base that are overlooking Randall because he didn't come in and contribute right away as a freshman when he was getting so much hype back in the spring before the ACL injury. And if you are one of those people who are overlooking that kid, do so at your own peril, because I think he's going to prove some people wrong this year, or those that are overlooking him anyways. Don't kill me. I'm just the vibe. Says this might shock some of you. I think Cade and DJ had breakout seasons this year, and everyone would know that Streeter was a horrible promotion by Dabo. I'm curious to see what DJ does up there at Oregon State. Playing under center for the first time ever. But we ain't gonna agree that Streeter was the entire problem last year. I still remember Streeter from his 6 years calling plays before he came back to Clemson. It's nothing like what we saw last year. Dabo probably should have went out and hired somebody to come in and revamp this offense a year ago, because Brandon Streeter's not that guy. He just took over the offense that was already in place. He was not tasked with installing a new offense. He was tasked with working within an offense that was starting to get stale as far back as 2020, and with a quarterback who, for whatever reason, just did not have the mental makeup to be the starter at Clemson. Maybe he goes on to Oregon State and it's totally different for him there. Expectations are vastly different at Oregon State compared to what they are at Clemson. You're just not going to convince me that Brandon Streeter was the only problem on the offensive side of the ball last year. Chad says, I hope to see the offense light it up too. Not much will make me happier than seeing wide receivers catch the balls on the move. Tired of seeing jump balls. Yeah, I would like to see the middle of the field start being utilized more. We've been saying that for how long now? We want to see the middle of the field being taken advantage of, and not so much with all these passes to the hash marks, the 50-50 balls, whatever. I think we're going to see that. There are some guys in this offense that if you don't take advantage of the middle of the field with those guys, again, I said it earlier about something else, it would almost be criminal. Guys like Jake Brenningstool, Antonio Williams, Tyler Brown, you got to get those guys the ball and get them out in space. But, by all accounts, I expect we see a lot of crossing routes this year. And the middle of the field being utilized more. All right, I got the depth chart pulled up here because I see a lot of you talking about Troy Stellato. He is listed third string behind Bo Collins and Brandon Spector. He's lit. I'll take that back. It's Bo Collins, then Brandon Spector or Troy Stellato. Look, man, this offense is better if Troy Stellato is healthy because he's got elite level speed too. My only question is, how much had the injuries impacted that speed? Because he was legit 4.4 before the injuries. He ran multiple 4.44s back at the opening there in his or right before his senior season or right after his senior season. I can't remember. Not long before he committed to Clemson. So that's my only question. How much had the injuries affected his speed, if at all? Does he still have that same kind of speed? And can he stay healthy? He has not been able to stay healthy so far. But if he can, that only benefits this offense, man. Because there's a reason why all the big boy schools wanted him. Ohio State wanted that. They were the other finalists with Clemson. He has talent. That guy is talented. He's just got to be able to catch a break and stay healthy, man. Here we go. I like this one. Don't kill me. I'm just a vibe ass. Where will Peter Woods play on the outside or interior? He played both in high school. I think you'll see more on the interior. I think you're going to see Clemson employ more nickel than they have in the past. A few months ago, I was kind of leaning towards thinking we see more three-man fronts this year, but I've come off of that. I've changed my mind on that. I don't think we do unless it's by necessity. But if somebody has to move outside, go back to the Orange Bowl last year and look who they moved outside. It was Rook. So if one of those tackles have to move outside, he might be the guy that gets moved out first. And you see Woods, kind of inserted into his place on the interior. Because I think that's probably where he's best suited to play because he can get after the quarterback inside or outside. And he eats up blocks. Back during the All-Star game practice last year, had to take him off the field just so they could practice, man, because he was just wreaking so much havoc. It's insane how talented Peter Woods is. But yeah, I think it's going to be more on the interior. I also thought we might see him a lot on the outside too, but kind of listening to the coaches, it doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. So I'm kind of leaning more towards thinking it'll be Rook that gets moved outside if they have to move somebody outside. Oh yeah, John reminds me. I forgot about Brennan Armstrong transferring to North Carolina State. That is correct. So there's one more quarterback on that list. Wade Woodaz will be a difference maker at some point this year. A beast waiting to explode. Looks big. He is much bigger than last year. He talked about it last week when he met with the media. Said he was about 205 last year when the Orange Bowl was played, and said he got pushed around some, and that he told his dad that he was determined that was not going to happen again. He's up to, I think he said 235 now. Was drinking about 12 protein shakes a day to put on that weight. And talking about it, that guy that looks different, he looks different. It's going to be interesting to see where he kind of fits in if Clemson does employ a lot of nickel looks. Um, it is nice to hear that he is acclimating to the reps he has been getting inside, because if something happens to Trotter or Carter, you need somebody you can slide in there. And it sounds like, he'll be ready if his number's called. But I'm curious to see, if Clemson does show a lot of nickel formations, which, where Woodaz kind of fits into that. Pickled Tiger says Eason brings fire that Wes won't. No, hey, Wes and Venables are two entirely different personalities. Um, that don't mean your defense can't have some fire. Um, let the players generate that fire. Don't depend on the coach to bring the fire for you. That's kind of how I look at it. There are some fiery guys on that. There are some fiery guys on that defense. I want to see that translate to the field of play. And if anybody hasn't seen the depth chart yet, Brad's got it up on the website, allclemsontigers.com. I just looked at it myself for the first time. Allclemsontigers.com. Brad's got it up. Dabo said as much on the podcast with Mac. Offense was still, yeah, it absolutely was. And I think it goes back to before Trevor Lawrence left, man. Kind of back to that 2020 season. They just had the talent to kind of overcome the deficiencies. It was to me in 2020. They didn't really have the offensive line that they had in the past, so it was starting to show a little bit. And they didn't have the dogs out at receiver that they had in the past, which started to show some, kinks in the armor, if you will. But yeah, that thing was getting stale, and then over the past couple of years, it really started to show. Um, Teams were picking up on tendencies, and I don't think it helped. All the injuries didn't help any. And for whatever reason, you had a quarterback that just, I don't know, just could not get his confidence level where he needed it. After that Wake Forest game, I kind of thought he had kind of found it. He comes out and has that horrible game against Syracuse, and he just could never recover after that. He played good for one half against Miami, but outside of that, he just could never recover from that game against Syracuse. It's one of the damnedest things I've ever seen, because you've seen it. The kid's got talent, man. Um, it's just one of those things. I hope he goes and kills it at Oregon State, because he's such a good dude, man. He's such a nice and humble kid. I mean, it's unfortunate. Is there a surprise that Clemson's 2020 offense was so bad, and then UVA, even with Armstrong, fell off? Tony Elliott is a great human, but his playbook is old. Yeah, I remember after the LSU loss in the national title game. I think it was after the LSU loss. Yeah. Elliott talked about, he didn't use the word stale or anything like that, but he made reference to how many teams were starting to pick up on tendencies in Clemson's offense and how he needed to go in and change some things. And then right after that, we had to shut down. You know, everything was shut down, didn't get start back up till late in the year. There was no way you were going to do that year. And I have wondered, was he ever able to go in and do it? Because after that season, Lawrence leaves, DJ takes over. Is that the time you want to go in and go make those kind of changes? I don't know. I would be interesting to know the answer to that question. But I do remember him talking about needing to go in and make some changes in that offense because of the way teams were starting to defend them and pick up on tendencies and those kind of things. As far as him at Virginia, not a big fan of the guy he hired as his offensive coordinator. And I just that's going to be a hard place to win. But yeah, not what happened with Brennan Armstrong there last year is kind of indefensible, and I'm not even trying to defend it. The dude says DJ never read defenses correctly or quick enough. He was very robotic, more to being a QB than a cannon arm. You know what? I hear this a lot. If you ever sit down with DJ and ask him what he saw on a specific play, he'll tell you, bam, 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 bam. And I mean, he'll break down the defense very specifically. So I don't think that he can't read the defense. Maybe there's a little bit of merit that he's not reading it quick enough. I don't know, but I don't buy into the argument that he can't read the defense because I have heard him break them down after games, what he saw here, what he saw there on this play, that play, and he can break it down almost to you to what all 11 guys were doing. It was kind of impressive. I heard him do it a few times. To me, with him, it was just, I don't know. I think it was more mental. Donald Walker. First, we heard Peter Woods might start. Now we hear that he might not even play very much. Where is the word? Okay, I got to admit, I've never heard that Peter Woods was going to start, and I've never heard anybody say he wasn't going to play a lot. I think Peter Woods is going to play a lot, and to me, it doesn't really matter whether he starts or not. It's how many snaps he plays, and I think how many snaps he plays will be comparable to the guys who run out there first. That's a guy that you can't keep off the field. He's going to play. He's going to play early. He's going to play often. I just happen to think it's going to be in the interior, not on the edge as much as I originally thought a few months ago. I wouldn't read too much into him not starting. He's not going to come in and start over Rook or Tyler Davis, maybe not even Peyton Page, who's been here, a couple years now. Clemson's loaded at defensive tackle. On top of those three guys I just named, golly, you got DeMonte Capehart. You got two other freshmen, Stephon Green, Vic Burley, and Trey Williams. And I know he's had some issues staying healthy here of late, but that is a bunch of talent. That is a bunch of snaps to try to divvy up, keep everybody happy. It would not shock me at all if you didn't have some unexpected attrition at that position after the season due to there not being enough snaps to go around for everybody. They just accumulated that much talent at defensive tackle. We'll see, though, because you got Rook and Tyler Davis coming off the books after this year. Wes Goodwin has to show he's up to the task. I think Wes has got to be better than he was last year. I don't think he's on the hot seat or anything like that. But I do think he's got to be better than he was last year. I think he'd be the first person to tell you that. Wes Goodwin had John Norman's shoes to fill, though. Let's be real. Coming in and taking over for Brent Venables. Not only have you never been a defensive coordinator, you've never been a assistant, on-field assistant. You've been an analyst for a little while, kind of Venables' right-hand man, but you never called plays. You've never been an actual on-field assistant. I think you'll see a much improved Wes Goodwin now that he's had a year in that thing and he's kind of settled into that role. He's kind of had a entire offseason to self-evaluate and see where he needs to make improvements. This is the one I like. Kelly says Brittany Stowe is about to have a monster season, matchup problems, especially in the red zone. I agree. Jake Brenningstool is a matchup nightmare for opposing defenses. And with Davis Allen going, he's going to be the guy there. I think he is going to be one of the biggest benefactors of Garrett Riley being hired as Clemson offensive coordinator. I think he is going to be a big part of what Clemson does on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah, Peter Woods is listed as a backup on the depth chart behind Rook, and it lists Peter Woods or DeMonte Capehart. So it's kind of both of those as the backup. Another guy who is listed as a backup, another freshman, T.J. Parker, is another guy I think is going to have an impact this year. I think he came in physically ready to play. It's just as long as he doesn't hit that freshman wall at some point, I think he's going to be one of the better pass rushers. He's listed as the backup behind XT. And on the other side, behind Maskell, it is Cade Denoff. No mention of Zaire Patterson. Make of that what you will. Yeah, Tyler Brown's listed on here as the backup returner, too. Would not surprise me to see Tyler Brown, eventually be the guy on either punt returns or kickoff returns. He's listed as a backup for both right now, but I think he's that dynamic. He's a guy that is a threat to take it to the house anytime he gets his hands on the ball. He's just got that kind of speed. WB2DX says Woods will be playing in the other team's backfield. Yeah, I like it. I like that one. How has Peyton Page been looking? Page is the backup at the other defensive tackle spot. And I think that speaks volumes to how he's looking. I mean, he's in the too deep. I think you're going to see him a lot this year, too. Again, though, it's going to be interesting how they divide up some of those snaps at defensive tackle because they got a lot of guys, a lot of talent. We'll see if Green or Burley can avoid redshirt seasons. We'll see if Trey Williams can stay healthy all season. But with Page and Capehart and Root and Davis and Woods, I mean, you're 5 deep right there. I mean, it's just unreal how they have stacked talent at defensive tackle. What happens if Cade gets hurt? I don't think we're very deep at quarterback. If Cade gets hurt, I think Clemson's in trouble. Okay. If Cade gets hurt and has to miss substantial time, I think Clemson's in trouble. And this is not a knock on Hunter Helms, because I think he is a guy that can come in and get you a win. But I'm not sure he's the guy that can come in and take you to a playoff if Cade gets hurt and has to miss extended time. I've seen Paul Tyson. He ain't that guy. Chris Vezina, he's got all the tools. He ain't ready. He needs a year. He needs the red shirt. Hopefully it works out to where he can. Cade, injury to Cade might change those plans, but the plan right now is to redshirt Vezina. But I'm not sure, for a lot of teams, losing their starting quarterback to a season-ending injury, it's not going to be good. It's hard to stack talent at quarterback these days. I'm not saying it doesn't happen anywhere. It's just hard to do it. Clemson's got Klubnik, who is the number one quarterback in his class. Vezina, who was a 5-star until late in the cycle, got dinged down to a 4-star. But that's 2 former 5-stars on your roster in back-to-back classes. That's having both those guys is what hurt Clemson when it came to trying to land one in 2024. Just so happens Vezina is also one of those guys that needs a year. Clemson needs Klubnik to stay healthy. Let's put it that way. I like Hunter Helms. I think he can do some nice things. I'm just not convinced that if Klubnik goes down in week 3, he can lead Clemson to a playoff. I think he can lead you to another 10-win season and a respectable finish, but I'm not sure he's taking you to the playoff. When Woodaz said his brother is more athletic than he is, Sarian says that surprised him a little. Yeah, I had already heard that Drew might be a little more polished coming out of high school, or might be a little more polished where he is right now in his career compared to where Wade was at the same point in his career in high school. So I can't say that really caught me all that unaware, because I had kind of heard that before. But yeah, you just look at what Wade did last year in 1 year, and to think that Drew might be a little bit better coming out of high school, or a little bit further ahead of where, not just more athletic, but a little bit further ahead than where Wade was. We'll see. We'll see if that pans out, but it's not a bad problem to have. WB2X says, we have CV. He is just about good as K. Not much of a drop off there. See, this is where I totally disagree. Maybe a year from now, 18 months, next year, if you have to turn to Chris Vezina this year to win football games, I think Clemson's in trouble. The engineers never simplify. Thoughts on Randall and Turner sharing starting roles on the depth chart? It's not all that surprising. You've heard them rave about Cole Turner. I think Adam Randall will separate himself as the season goes on, though. That's not a knock on Turner. That's just how insanely talented I think Randall is. I know what Turner can do catching the ball. I want to see what he does without the ball in his hands, out in the perimeter blocking. That's where I have questions when it comes to Cole Turner. And if you can't block out on the perimeter, you're not going to play in this offense. It's an area that he still needs to improve upon. Going back to last year, we'll see how much he's improved. I think that's one of the questions heading into this season. And I don't think it's just a question with him. I think it's a question with most of those receivers. They need to be better with their blocking out on the perimeter. The bubble screen, wide receiver screen, whatever you want to call it, it's still going to be a big part of this offense, man. And you have to have the blocking. out on the perimeter for those short swing passes to have any kind of success. If you want your playmakers to make plays out in the open field, they got to have the blocking out in front of them, and that's a lot of that's going to come from the receivers out on the edge. So I don't mean to pick on Turner there, specifically, because I think it's a lot of those guys that need to be better with their blocking on the outside. Is Tyler Brown the fastest receiver? I don't know the answer to that. I've not seen any official times that he's ran or he's been timed running or anything. Like I said earlier, Stellato has been clocked running a 4.4 twice. That is official. I've never seen any official numbers from Tyler Brown running or being clocked into 40 or anything, so I can't answer that. 4.4 is hard to beat, though. Again, the question is, does Stellato still have the same kind of speed after the hamstring issues and the torn ACL? TJ under center, his feet problematic. See, this is where that's where my head goes to when I think of DJ under center is the footwork, because I think that is something that plagued him the past 2 years was footwork and mechanics. Maybe not as much as some things mentally, but I do think his footwork, a la his mechanics, were a problem, and I am interested to see how he does playing under center. Apparently, he has had a pretty good fall camp, though, but I have not seen it with my own eyes, and I'm going to want to see it with my own eyes. The dog's fixing to go crazy, so be forewarned. How is the depth at linebacker taking shape? Death Valley Tiger asked. You're not going to have a bunch of depth at linebacker. You need Trotter and Carter to stay healthy. That's just it. That's where the dismissal of T.J. Dudley hurts you, is if you have an injury to Carter or Trotter. Because as long as those guys are playing, as long as those guys are healthy, they're going to be the guys on the field. They're taking a large majority of the snaps, and when the game's on the line. Wade Woodaz has taken a lot of reps inside to kind of try and build some depth there in case of the worst. I have heard good things about Kobe McLeod in fall camp, that they have been pleased with where he's at. But again, you need those guys to stay healthy. That might be the best linebacker duo in the country. If it's not the best, it's one of the best. Trotter could easily see himself or hear his name called on the first night of the draft next year if he has the kind of season I think he's capable of. They need those guys healthy, and that's, to me, that's whether T.J. Dudley's still here or not. You need those guys healthy. Wes is on the hot seat for sure. I'm not buying that. I don't think Wes's job's on the line or anything. I do think the defense needs to be better, but I don't think he's in danger of being fired. Has TJ Parker moved above Patterson and Denoff? He's absolutely above Patterson. Patterson's not even on the depth chart. Parker is listed as the backup behind XT. Denoff's listed as the backup behind Maskell. It would not surprise me to see Woods on the O-line. You mean playing offensive line? Yeah, that's not going to happen either. Komodo says TJ Parker will be our best edge by the end of the season. I definitely think he's going to be one of your best too. Yeah, he's another guy that I have been high on ever since the first time I turned his film on back when he was still a senior in high school. People keep saying look out for Duke, but I just feel like we're going to wear them out on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean, when I say the talent takes over in the end. I think it's going to be competitive for a little while. Duke's had this game circled on the calendar. It's a kind of a statement game for Duke. They made no bones about that talking about it back at the ACC kickoff. Don't get me wrong. They didn't say anything out of the way, anything that could really be used as bulletin board material. But they made no bones about the fact that this was a statement or could be a program defining game for them. It's a program changing win if they can somehow figure out a way to beat the Tigers on opening night there on Labor Day. But Clemson's still the more talented team. Yes, I know they got 18 and 21 starters back. Yeah, I know Riley Leonard's coming back, and he's one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC. That's why I think it's competitive for a little while. But Clemson still got the most talent, and at the end of the day, that tends to win out. And I think it does here. And I think Clemson's going to cover. I don't think they're going to go in there and blow their doors off and win by 30. But I think Clemson's going to win by a couple of scores. I love Dabo, but I remember him saying he made promotion decisions in like 19 seconds. That didn't work out so well with Strader. Hopefully he has at least two. He runs the 2-minute offense next time. But I mean, hey, I guarantee you the next guy when Garrett Riley leaves is already on the staff right now. I would almost guarantee it, and it's not going to take him about 10 seconds to make a decision on. So take that for what it's worth. Good running backs help if a QB problem pops up. Yeah, it helps. But you could also have defenses stack the box and take the run away. You got to be able to push the ball down the field. I think Clemson's the difference in Clemson being a playoff team and potentially being great. Because I think Clemson's got the potential to be great. I don't know that they can be, but I think they've got the tools. I think they got the potential. I think they got the pieces. Him staying healthy is the difference between them being great and being another good 10-win team. Dabo said that the Alabama QB transfer is the second string QB. He meant right then, that day, for that scrimmage because Hunter Helms was out. He is not the backup QB. He is third on the depth chart behind Hunter Helms. Helms is back now. Helms missed a couple of scrimmages. So Tyson had to be the second string QB for, a week, 10 days there, however long Helms was out. But he is the third guy on the depth chart today. Pullover is nice, but you need a small, like the Notre Dame coach, show them guns. Hey, there ain't no guns over here. No guns, no guns. I can promise you that. Put the lawnmower up high. Gonna see some rain in your. Yeah. I looked last night and it said 2 to 4 inches. Hopefully it's not any more than that. I can live with 2 to 4 inches. Hopefully it's not anything more than that. Because I see some places before it gets here is looking at about 10, and I don't want any part of that. Got a lot of people here that don't even think it's going to be close. Steel Gamble's got Clemson 41-17. WB2DX, Clemson 27-10. Tigers covering. Let's see. No, I saw some earlier scores up here too. If you got score predictions, let's see them before we get out of here tonight. While I am waiting on you guys to post your score predictions for this week, don't forget this Friday, our pregame show live from Magnetic South there in Anderson, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, be there live. Zach's going to bring some swag to give out. Probably go from about 5 to 6. Clemson Tigers radio show comes back tomorrow. We're moving it to a new time. We're kind of playing with it at different times and seeing what works. We're going to try 7 o'clock the rest of this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. See how that works. I got car line. Zach's tied up in the evening. Mornings is hard because of media, so we're trying to find the right time to make this thing work. We're not out here just switching the time on you for the fun of it. I promise we're trying to make it work for everybody. We're hoping 7 o'clock is going to do it, kind of keeps it consistent with the Monday show here at 7 o'clock on Mondays, and then we'll go live on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, same time. Then we'll have our pregame shows on Fridays at 5. Don't forget, if you have not hit that like button or that subscribe button, please do so. We are greatly appreciative of everybody that subscribed. You guys have helped us build this channel, build it pretty quickly in the last few months. And we just want to thank everybody. The dude's got Clemson 38-14. Brady's got Clemson 35-17. Hard time, 34-13 Clemson. CJ, 31-17 Clemson. Jermaine, 35-10 Clemson. Daniel thinks it's a little closer, 27-13 Clemson. Oh, Ruby Ridge thinks we're getting a nail biter. 31-28. If you subscribe, Zach said Clemson's going to win the national title. Hit that subscribe button. Mike's got Clemson 34-10. Donald's got Clemson 28-10. I'm seeing a lot of the very similar scores here. I like it. Steel Gamble. Shipley and Maffa run wild. K tosses 3 TDs. Most people think Clemson's going to win going away. I think Clemson's going to win. I think they'll cover. I think it's going to be a little closer than some of y'all do. I think it's going to be competitive for a little while. Give me Clemson 28-17. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Don't forget, check us out Friday, Magnetic South, our pregame show. We'll be right back here tomorrow night. Zach and I, Clemson Tigers Radio. Appreciate everybody tuning in. See y'all next Monday.